I know, right? I'll borrow you this. I don't know if you will fit.
Definitely have to do something like that.
Right. Nice having you here. There are about 23 of us here already, and
Wonderful.
more will be joining as we go along. So, yeah, I was just mentioning about you. Of course, many of them have attended your weekly calls.
Okay.
A good number, I'm sure, but there are some who maybe this is the first time to have you. And when I mentioned that you were coming here, yeah, many of them were really excited to show up.
Wonderful. And I'm going to have some more great announcements to tell you guys about that I think are going to make everyone very happy
Great,
and really give you guys a lot of opportunities. And a lot of these things are going to be completely free.
great, great. And for those of you doing the AWS course, if you remember the course that you did sign up free, the associate course that was from Mike GoCloud Architects career. So uh, we are absolutely glad to have you here. And I mean, everyone is settled since this day was dedicated to hear maybe your story. And then most of the people, as I mentioned, some of them don't have an IT background. They're just
Okay.
trying to see what is it that the cloud can offer for them and how to navigate this space. And every experience or every story that motivate and inspire people is essential. And definitely they'll have questions for you, maybe at the end. So yeah, you've got about an hour today, and we can add that if necessary, but at least so that yeah, and if you have the time, we'll appreciate. Yeah.
I am good for an hour and 35 minutes.
Great.
So
Okay.
whatever we can do in that time, I can talk what I typically do on my typical thing. I can talk about how I got in the cloud and the types of cloud jobs that are there. How would you like me to progress? So I want to make it the best experience possible for everyone here.
I think you can start with how you got into cloud because many don't have a feel in IT and they're always wondering if this place is cloud suitable for me. So your background, how you got into cloud and how you've carried on, and the advice for people joining this space will be great.
Sure, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Gibbs, and I've been working in tech for at least 25 years now.
Please mute yourself if you are not. Yeah, everyone in train is on mute, and if you are not talking, it's better to mute yourself so that we can hear Mike well. Go ahead, Mike. It's quite fine now.
So I've been in tech for about 25 years now. I did not start out in tech. I transitioned careers, and I know a lot about career transitioning because I didn't come from anything related to tech. I was practicing internal medicine, which I loved. And it was really interesting because I learned about internal medicine and I got really good at it from a physician from Nigeria and a physician from Ghana. They were some of the most impressive physicians I've ever seen in my life. I was doing my pediatric rotations, and I remember seeing a girl and she had an infection on her arm and it was so serious. It was so severe. And I had gone to the physician I was in my training at the time, and I said, oh my God, I've got to give this girl the Levaquin. We got to do a culture. We got to send her to the hospital. I don't want her to lose her arm. It was a bad infection. And he pulls me aside and he starts laughing. And he says, Michael, one of the things I love about you is you care all about our patients. He said, one of the things that you haven't learned yet is like backwoods African medicine. And I said, could you explain this to me? He grabs the girl's arm, he smells it, and he says it's Pseudomonas, and this $4 drug is going to cure her. And I said, wow, how do you know this? And he said, this is the way we train in Africa. So this physician from Ghana and then this physician from Nigeria had mentored me throughout my rotations. And then I started practicing medicine. And let me tell you, my perspective of medicine changed dramatically from the way I was taught from these two brilliant doctors from Africa. And while I was practicing medicine, I loved medicine, but I just found that I was liking technology a whole lot more. In those days, my brother loved video games, and I just wanted to do something with my brother that didn't involve martial arts because he didn't like the martial arts that I did or the workouts that I did. So I built this network and we started playing video games. And in those days, computers were very expensive. It was about $3,000 for a video gaming computer. That was a 25 megahertz CPU with a mega RAM and a 10 meg hard drive. And from that, that's how I got my intro into tech. Now, like many of you, I decided I wanted to work in tech. So what did I do? I followed the traditional guidance, which was get some certifications, and I did. And I got big certifications. I got the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. I got the Cisco Certified Network Professional. I got the Cisco Certified Design Professional. And then I did what everybody did. I went and applied for jobs and I got told, sorry, Mike, you don't have any degrees in technology. You don't have any experience in technology. So if you've got no degrees in the technology, how can we hire you? Well, let me tell you, I learned exactly how to, from that experience, how to make people do career transitions. And I've been helping people get their first tech jobs ever since. See, here's what I learned. When I got rejected from the first 5 jobs, I looked at it philosophically and said, insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different response. So I knew not to do that. That's just like, repeating the same, and so I knew to learn. So I started calling recruiters, and recruiters each recruiter told me, oh, I didn't have the skill, but then I asked each recruiter, what is it in that hiring managers desire? And they gave me a list of things. So what I did is I started looking at what my background was versus what the ideal hiring manager wanted. And then I built a plan and I got there. And then my first tech job was as a senior engineer. So I'm telling you, everyone in this room, everyone in this group can move into tech. And if you don't have a tech background, that's okay. It's all about making your portfolio optimized so that people see you for the capabilities that you are. How do we do that? How do I recommend it for all of you? You've got to get certified. And certification is one of the components that shows your ability to actually do things. Now, I would tell you not to get 10 associate level certifications. Don't get things that look spread out. Get them in a focused manner. So for example, if you want someone that wants to do cloud networking, they become a Cisco certified network professional and an AWS certified solutions architect professional, and you combine those two, now you've got a strong capabilities in networking, and now you've got a strong capabilities in cloud. Works all the time. Security, we do something similar. We do a CISSP or a CEH and an AWS certified solutions architect professional. And now you've got the certification portfolio. Now that's not enough. When it's your first job, specifically speaking, you've got to optimize everything about yourself. You've got to focus on your communication skills, make sure you can just understand the technology and explain what the technology is, how it works and why you would use it, and competently. And that's one of the things that we do with our students, but you can do it on your own if you're not one of my students. Pick a technology like object storage and explain it to someone, what it is, how it works, and why you would use it. When you understand all the components of block storage and object storage, then you're in a position where you can actually start designing it. So get good at knowing what the technology is, how it works, why you'd use it. And when you unlearn the technology at the same time or before you actually worry about the certification knowledge, because it's like cooking. If you know what all the ingredients are and you've seen them before, you can put them together in a recipe, which is great. A recipe is like an architecture. A little this, a little this, a little this, a little this, a little this. But if you've never worked with it and then you're just learning these things, it's kind of challenging. So I love cats. I've always been impressed by cats, and I've always wanted to go to Tanzania or someplace in Africa to see a lion. That's one of those things that's part of my life dream, and I'm going to get there at some point, and I definitely want to see a lion. Now, if I've never, imagine describing a lion to someone in a book or in a Udemy course and say, there's this dangerous cat called a lion. No one would really have any idea what it is, but once you saw a lion and you watched it run in the movies and you could see how it behaves, now you know a little bit more about a lion. Well, the same thing has there to be an architect. If you want to be a fantastic architect, learn how all the technology works. So when it comes to transitioning careers, it's not that challenging to do. What you have to do is the following. You have to build the level of expertise and build a resume that looks strong. You then have to be able to describe all the technologies in depth. You have to learn how to build a resume that's actually real, and the resume that will sell you, and the resume that will show all of your strengths and capabilities. And if it's your first job, we have a special process, and I'm happy to walk you all through that towards this call. I'm trying to give you basically an introductory level overview, so then you guys can tell me what you find most interesting, and I can focus the remaining hour of discussion on that. So you've got to work on your interview. You've got to work on presentation skills. You've got to work on soft skills, the ability to communicate, how well you...
No, please, can you mute Therese? Okay.
Banjika, can't you mute everyone and then Mike unmutes himself?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's better. It's okay. Continue, Mike. Sorry about that.
So what I was trying to say is I was trying to give you guys the flexibility to guide this conversation. So I am more than happy to talk about what is a cloud architect and the different types of cloud architect. I am very happy to guide this discussion in, how to interview for a cloud architect position. I'm happy to guide this discussion in ways to get true hands-on experience. I'm happy to guide this discussion in terms of building a certification and a career plan. I'm happy to do my usual kind of Monday morning, Thursday morning kind of presentation or a technical presentation. But I don't know how many people have taken my main presentation, and I don't want to do the same thing for them twice. Could you guys give me some feedback or guidance?
Based on, I know there are quite a couple number here, there are some, but I think, let me allow, what will you guys like? I mean, how to build a cloud architect? That's what I think seems appealing, like starting from how to build a cloud architect.
Okay.
But if there's anyone who wants something else, please just object and give a different choice. Let me hear. Is there someone else who would like to hear something else? Go ahead, Akko. Yeah.
Just to say, good evening, Mike.
Hi,
just
Aqua.
to say that, hi. Just to say that what I found very interesting about Mike's presentations and very inspiring was his ability to transition from the career that he was doing into cloud, and the fact that he was able to pick some skills which he used in his everyday working life, and he was able to transpose that into what a cloud architect would do. So I think, like, for what I've heard him do was that he's asked somebody's background and he's been able to pick skills or highlight some points to show that, yes, these skills are transferable skills that you can take into the cloud. I thought that was very, very helpful.
Okay. I would love to cover that. I think that's, how I transition, but I also, and then I can walk people through how their experience is relevant too.
Yes.
So let's make this as interactive as you like. I'm happy to speak to this group as often as you like. So I just want to make it a great experience.
Great.
So I will heed to Aqua's suggestion, and I'm going to give you a little bit about my background first, and then we'll talk about how I made the career transition. And I also want you all to understand there is nothing such as no experience. I keep hearing this term cloud architect, no experience. I don't believe it at all. I believe we all have experiences, and some of these experiences are so valid they can make us great cloud architects. They could also make us great doctors. They can make us great nurses. They could make us great customer service reps. Life is cumulative, and the things that we learn are transferable to our career. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I've been in tech for 25 years. And I started with internal medicine, as I described, and I took my first tech job, which was actually for a company called WorldCom, which is Verizon, which was one of the 5 largest internet service providers in the world when I started working there, and that was my first job. Then I had the opportunity to work for a company called Cabletron, which became Riverstone. Then I had the opportunity to work on Wall Street and design systems for banks. Then I had the opportunity to work with the largest cable internet provider in the US as their lead architect. And then I finally took my career to Cisco, where I had a fantastic consulting career as the lead architect for the entire healthcare business unit, which was a substantial business unit inside of Cisco. So in these 25 years, I've worked on network designs, cloud computing, and security, and I've been teaching and coaching others for 25 years. Now, I did not start out in tech. I started out in medicine. And the reason I say that your life experience matters is I used my life experience to get my first tech job. And I bet you, and I will walk through half of if anybody that wants today, I will go through your life experience and I will show you how that your life experience, when you use it right, will help you get any tech job that you desire, specifically related to cloud computing. I came to this world of tech with nothing more than 3 backgrounds. I had a lot of education in medicine, I did. And I had 3 life experiences that all were accurate in the world of cloud computing. I was a martial artist, which doesn't sound related, but it is. I was a paramedic firefighter. I'm one of the people in the ambulances, which doesn't sound related, and it is. And I practiced internal medicine, which you would think isn't related, but it completely is. So we're going to talk about how those 3 things from my experience is made a big difference for me, and then we can walk through your backgrounds and show you how. So I was a martial artist, and I guess I never have stopped. But I had about 15 years of martial arts experience when I got my first job, because I started really young. And martial arts taught me a few things. I mean, one is martial arts teach you how to defend yourself, but that wasn't the benefits that was necessarily translatable to a tech career. Martial arts teach you to be focused at all times. If you're ever competing in a martial arts contest and you lose your focus, you are instantly knocked out and the game is over. So martial arts taught me focus. I will tell you, and if you're building a tech career, the more focused you are, the better your tech career will be, the better your job offers will be, the better your salary will be, and the faster you'll get there. So being laser-like focused towards getting to one goal will definitely help you, and I learned that from martial arts. Now, I learned something else in martial arts that was really critical, but I didn't understand why it was so critical at the time until I started studying medicine. In martial arts, I learned to be calm at all times and to never get angry. See, in martial arts, the second you're not calm, you get knocked out and the game is over and you lost. Now, why is that? When you get angry or you lose your calmness, you lose your capabilities. See, we've got lots of different parts of the brain. And when we're calm and we're stressed and we're all having a conversation, we're using the prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of the brain, which is the thinking, the logical reasoning part of the brain. This is where we can really interact and converse with people in a productive way. So if you're a cloud architect and you're meeting with a customer, you want to ask the right questions. You've got to be using your prefrontal cortex, and you can't do that if you're stressed. So the martial arts lessons of being calm always mattered. Now, I learned something else. So in martial arts, it's a warrior discipline, so we learn a few things. We all, for the most part, read the book, The Art of War. The Art of War, the book, was in every MBA program until recently, and it was an essential way for business, legal, war strategy. One of the things that I learned in The Art of War that has been completely appropriate to getting your first tech job and helped me survive my entire career is to be successful in a combat or a war environment, you must know yourself and you must know your enemy. If you know yourself and you know your enemy, according to The Art of War, in my experience, you will always be victorious. You will always win. If you don't know yourself and don't know your enemy, you will always lose. If you know yourself but not your enemy, for every one win, there'll be one loss. And if you don't know yourself but know your enemy, you will have every win, there'll be one loss. So really the key to building the best career is to know yourself and to know your enemy. Now, who do you define as your enemy? That's the question. You could define the hiring manager as the enemy for which you're doing battle with. So the more you know about the hiring manager's goals, dreams, the better you are to basically win that competition. The other person that you could be considering is you look at yourself and who you are, and look at the other people that are going to be competing for the same job. Make yourself better than the competition, and you will always get hired and you will always pay more. So stay focused, stay calm, know yourself, know your competition, and you'll always be victorious. Now, I learned one other thing that was really important for martial arts, and this works when it comes to cloud architectures. In martial arts, you have to have a plan, your primary strategy, then you have a backup strategy, then you have a backup strategy, and when all else fails, you adapt, you improvise, and you overcome. So when you meet with a client as an architect, you know what you're going to do? You're going to ask some questions. And in your head ahead of time, you have a strategy that you think is going to work. But guess what? When you actually peel back the onion and you get to the heart of the matter, you're going to find out that that plan wasn't going to work. You're going to need a backup plan. And then your backup plan, you're going to find out that some of the information that you based and the assumptions you based that backup plan on aren't good. So you're going to revert to your backup plan. And when that fails, adapt, improvise, and overcome. So stay focused, stay calm, respect others, and build a plan. I learned that from martial arts, and every one of those things are all critical. So what is an architecture? The architecture is really nothing more than a plan to use technology to help a business achieve their goals. So build a plan. Now, my next job was being a firefighter paramedic. So I was one of these guys that would show up on an ambulance or a helicopter. People would dial emergency services. That's how I paid my way through the university. And I loved that job, although it was hard on the body. Let me tell you, this again taught me how to stay calm. If you've ever been to an environment where there's a mass shooting or there's a 10-car accident, these are stressful situations. And if you can stay calm, you can help your patients. If you can stay calm in an outage when you work as a cloud architect, because things go down and things break. And when things break, people are losing money and they get very angry very fast. If you can stay calm, you'll be in the perfect position to solve the problem. And if you can solve it calmer and faster than the rest and bring out the best in others, you'll get promoted. Learn how to be calm. Now, I learned something else being a paramedic, and super important, but it's also super important as a cloud architect. I learned to get to the bottom of things very quickly. So the better your skills are, the faster you can find out what's really going on. If you're in an ambulance and there's 10 cars that are in an accident and there's 30 patients and you've got one ambulance, you better figure out who you can take care of first. You better prioritize it. But if you can't figure out what's going on, you can be in the middle of a pile of petrol and there could be electrical wires around you and you can die. So the ability to get to the bottom of things quickly is a critical trait for a paramedic, but it's also a critical trait for the cloud architect, because you're going to be walking into an environment to do some consulting and they might not have any documentation for what their cloud looks like. Or they're going to have an outage and you got to figure out what's going on fast, because the faster you fixed it, the better the company will do, and the better the company does, the better you will do. So the ability to get to the bottom of things quickly, I learned very quickly, and the ability to prioritize. People living in Africa that probably have to prioritize one thing over another in certain circumstances are going to be fantastic cloud architects. Fantastic. And I also learned something that no matter what, when you think you don't have enough resources, somewhere along the line, you always have what you need. So as a paramedic, there were days where I would take tape and towels and create splints on the fly. You know, you do what you have to get the job done. As a cloud architect, you're going to have to adapt, improvise, and you have more resources than you need. If you don't know something, someone else will. So just make sure you have a good set of contact lists and develop some solid relationships, and you will always be great as a cloud architect. Now, here's where I was really trained in architecture, and that was actually with regards to medicine. It was the Nigerian and the Ghana physician that actually taught me architecture, even though they were trying to teach me pediatric medicine. And what an experience it was. So in internal medicine, in medicine, we focus on one area. There's 5 types of cardiologists to focus on the heart, which is the size of the fist. There's 10 different kinds of neurologists. I mean, literally, we know that you can't know everything about anything. So in medicine, we get deep, deep, deep technical knowledge. Guess what? If you want to be a good architect and you have really deep knowledge in one area, you will always be hired and you will be very highly paid. The specialist always earns more. The specialist is always in demand. It's very easy to find someone that knows a little bit about a lot of things, but it's very hard to know somebody that can really get to the heart of the matter and really fix things. So be a specialist. I learned that from medicine, and I will tell you, it will help you in your cloud career. Now, the next thing that I learned in medicine was actually how to troubleshoot and how to design a plan, like in architecture. And this is where you're going to say, Mike's crazy. Medicine and architecture have nothing in common. Let me tell you what a medical visit is. Patient comes into the office and they say, my throat hurts. And as a physician or a nurse practitioner, you look in there, you take your flashlight, you take a tongue depressor, you look in your throat, and you can say, wow, it looks red, or erythematous, as we call it. Then you could say, the most likely cause of a red throat is beta hemolytic strep group B, and beta hemolytic strep group B will respond to a penicillin or a macrolide or a quinolone. Therefore, my plan is to prescribe it. So what do? You ask the patient questions, you make a diagnosis, and then you build a plan. Well, here's what architecture is. You meet with the client tells you some information, you make a diagnosis, and you build the plan. Just as medicine, the only difference is the plan's called an architecture, where in medicine it's a prescription, but it's the same thing. Meet with a client, get all the information, make a diagnosis, and build a plan. That's the job of a cloud architect, and that's the job of a physician, and they are identical. And the reason I'm telling you this is I can promise you, and I would love to walk through some of your backgrounds, half of you are working as cloud architects half of your life and don't even know it. And the only thing we really need to do is fill in the technical gaps and the interviewing skills and the emotional intelligence, and you guys will have some fantastic careers. The cloud is a great place to work. There are an incredible number of jobs that are in demand. They just don't have anybody that can actually do it. There's a huge skills gap, and we can talk about that skills gap later. I learned something else from medicine. I learned that you have to ask the right questions in the right manner to get information. You know, as an architect, if you don't ask the right questions in the right manner, you won't have the right information. And if you don't have the right information, you know what? You're not going to be able to basically design an architecture. Either case, the same thing for medicine. I also learned in medicine how to sell. And I'll never call myself a sales rep, but sales are a critical skill for the cloud architect. Here's what I mean by that. And if you're going to have a patient and the patient's 100 pounds overweight and they're diabetic with hypertension and they smoke, in order to get them healthy, you might need to put them on an exercise plan, tell them to stop smoking and take a medication. Now, you know, in architecture, you're going to meet with a client, you're going to get their information, you're going to design a solution, and you might actually have to convince that customer that that solution is going to improve their business and it's the right thing to do. And sometimes the customer doesn't want to believe you, and sometimes you have to show them. For example, when I was at Cisco, we had a customer and it was a very large bank. And we told the customer who wanted to put all their voice on their data network that if you're going to put your voice on your data network, you must implement security and QoS. And they said to us, we don't need security in QoS. We have gigabit Ethernet to the desktop. And I said, all that's going to happen is you're going to get one worm or virus. It will fill up your gigabit connection to the desktop. And not only will all your trading systems be down, but you won't even be able to place a phone call about it because you won't even have any voice over IP because it's going to be on the same infected network. And they said, no, 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 we don't want this. So you know what happened? A month later, they got a worm. It took down their 5,000 person campus. It took down the entire bank's network, and it was a complete and total disaster. And then they said to me, Mike, you were right. You gave us all the reasons why we needed to do this. You wrote us a 14-page document. You gave the best sales presentation we ever heard. And we didn't want to hire the 3 security architects necessary to do that. But now we're ready. So I'm going to show you that's a case where if you can't sell, your clients have damage. And I had great sales skills, but this was one client that was not going to listen to me no matter what. And I brought in 10 other additional security people to back me up saying, you must do this. So being able to sell, whether it's a patient or being able to sell an architecture is important. And really the last thing I learned in medicine is the need to respect somebody else's difference and the need to specialize. When you're dealing with patients, you're going to be dealing with people that are a lot different than you. And they may have a religion that precludes them from taking medication. They may think differently than you, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't respect them. You need to respect them, understand what constraints they have, and find an applicable solution. And the last thing I learned from medicine, which I'm going to tell you need from cloud computing, is the need to specialize. Every time I see a 10x AWS certified person, I know that if I were to ask them a single question, they can't give me an answer at all, and they're completely unemployable. And every time I ask this question, I find the same issues. Now, if I have somebody that's got 1 or 2 professional certifications, they are solid. So the question is just the need for specialization and how do you get there? So I told you a little bit about my background and how I went there. I am happy to tell you what the hiring manager desires, or I am happy to work with you individually and take a few of your backgrounds and talk about how that's appropriate for cloud computing. How would the team prefer me to progress before I go to the next topic?
I think the idea of having someone, if there's someone willing, if you are someone willing, you want to bring up your background, so Mike can walk you through on how to be a cloud architect. That would be quite interesting. So let's see if someone can come up for that. If someone
that would be great. And at some point, Saban has a question which we'll answer as well, but I'd love to start with this while we're on topic.
Right, okay.
Sorry, Veronica here. Hello,
Veronica.
Mike. Hi, Mike. So is it like going through an interview or just telling you where kind of one's background and then, where one is with, venturing into cloud computing and all of that, or?
I could do anything you want. I could basically ask your background and show you how it's applicable. I could give you a practice interview. And the folks on the call could hear what a practice cloud architect interview could be. This is your time. The Cameroonian community has been so good to me. And every time I have the opportunity to speak with this type of community, I'm excited and happy. And if you guys need more training materials, I'll provide them. So if you guys tell me what you desire, which part, whether you want a practice interview or you want me to assess your background and translate it, whatever you prefer, Veronica.
Okay, not very sure about an interview, but okay. I can tell you about my background. So
let's hear about your background, and then I'll show you.
Yes. Yeah. So I am. How can I put this? What I'm doing right now is I prepare documents. So I write documents for clinical trials.
Excellent.
yeah, so I prepare protocols and informed consent forms, and after the
Wonderful.
trials have been performed, then I write the report. So that's
Excellent.
what I do more or less. And so I also provide oversight to other writers. So they kind of support me as I'm writing, since I can't write everything. So I kind of, also provide some mentoring for those who are just joining us writers. And yeah, and I am also an expert. I mean, how can I put this? Subject matter expert in report writing. So so if at my company, if someone has a question around writing the report, what the instructions are in the template, then I kind of help them out. So that's what I do in a nutshell.
You do that in a nutshell. Wow,
Yeah.
That's pretty great. And I might actually talk to you, and if you're interested in doing a little bit of an internship project with us to get cloud architect experience, I'm happy to work with you. Because you have very special skills. And so what I heard is prepare documents in clinical trials, write reports, provide oversight, provide mentoring, and you're a subject matter expert on writing. Did I get that correctly? And after
Yes.
okay, then let's talk about how that really works. So just to let you know, the average cloud architect spends 50% of their time writing.
Yeah.
And being someone that can write a professional document will do wonders for a cloud architect career. I will tell you this, I wrote a lot of documents, but I wrote 2 documents that built my career. In 2001, I built a document, I wrote a document on something called IP multicast. It was a type of where you send one piece of data and it goes to many people. It's used for like broadcast TV and the such. That paper got me promoted, and it basically got me a great job for which I would travel 200,000 to 300,000 miles a year to go visit clients just to talk about IP multicast. The company that I worked for at the time, because they liked my document so much and I kept going to visit customers that were struggling, that had problems, I was responsible for 20% of the organization's revenue that came out of a company that had upwards of 1,000 people in it, and I was one person. And it wasn't that I even sold anything to anybody. It was just that they liked my paper and my presentation so much that they chose to go with our company because it made them feel confident. And when they had problems, they knew that I'd be on a plane, which I was, to whatever country the customer had, because I cared about my customers. So when you can write and you can build a report, that's fantastic. Now, you also told me something else in there that's pretty important. So not only can you write reports and prepare technical documents, which is extremely important in cloud computing, you said you did a lot of mentoring of others.
Yeah.
Well, that is a skill that every employer looks for. What do employers look for? They look for someone that can do the job, someone they can trust. 2 really critical things: someone that's safe, someone that's energetic, someone that's called an energizer, someone that brings out the best in others and raises the energy of the room. They look for team players and someone that goes above and beyond. Let me tell you, it's a team player and an energizer and someone that goes above and beyond to mentor others. You make sure that's on your resume, and that will do absolute wonders for your career. Now that we know what you've done in your real life, which is a fantastic background, what else? What other hobbies do you have? Do you have children? Did you have any hardships that you have to go through in life?
Yes, I do have kids, and I like working on different things. One thing about me is that I get bored when I'm working on one thing for a long time. So I like diversity. That's like even with projects that I do, I tend to sometimes just want to do things not routine. I don't like routine.
That's a common problem in smart people. They get bored very quickly once they learn how to do things.
Yeah. And I like to travel.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that's actually a great thing. Where do you live?
I live in Brussels.
Okay, you live in
in
Brussels.
Belgium. Yeah, I'm in Belgium.
I could see the Belgium Cameroonian connection. I wish the Belgians people didn't take so much from the country, but that's neither here nor there. But okay, you're there. So from there, you're traveling around Europe and other places.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's also an asset. See, when you're working in a cloud computing environment and you're designing architectures, you might be dealing with people in multiple countries. And every country has a slightly different culture, as I know you know. And by being able to communicate to people in a language of their choice, in a culture of their choice, is a strong asset. Do you speak French?
A bit.
Do you speak Flemish?
A bit.
And you speak English, obviously, perfectly.
Yes,
So
I do.
those other multi-language skills could be very useful as well. So I think that's great. So now we know that you've got some leadership from both oversight and mentoring. You've dealt with children, which means you have to learn how to prioritize. It also means you know how to bring out the best in others. You have to know how to have difficult conversations and discipline without destroying a relationship. We know you can write. We know you can speak well. And we also know about you that you don't like doing the same thing too many times, probably because you're very smart and you sound that way the way you're communicating. My geniuses always have a problem when they get bored. After 1 or 2 years, they have to move on to something else.
Yes.
And that's okay. So the kind of job that would be really good for you would be a pre-sales role. And it won't be the first job you're going to get, but it would be a pre-sales role. What I like about pre-sales roles is they pay very well. You don't have to sit behind a desk all day. What happens is you go and you meet with a client, you ask them some questions, you go back to the office, you document it, you design an architecture, you write up the architecture, you make a PowerPoint presentation on the architecture, you come back to the client and you present it again to the client. And if they buy it, you could either deploy it or you have someone from an implementation team be the people that actually configure it, which is typically what happens. By doing that, you will not be in the same environment day in and day out. You will have, you'll get to have lots of customer dinners and lots of customer lunches. You'll be doing different things every day and it won't make you go nuts. Where you might be miserable if you had to sit in the same computer and design the same thing day in and day out. You may have to do a job like that for a year or two in the beginning to prove that you've got some experience, but don't worry. From there, you can take that into lots of different roles. I've spent half of my life in pre-sales and half of my life in leadership. I will tell you, there's nothing more fun than being a pre-sales architect. We meet with clients, you design things, you take them to dinner, you take them for some scotch or what have you. It's a very nice way to earn a living, and it was an enjoyable job, and that would be some place that's good for you. Now let's get into your technical background. Where are you technically?
So you mean in terms of cloud technical?
Yeah, what's your technical background? What do you know technical wise? Do you have any certification experience?
Yeah, so last year I studied for the practitioner, for the AWS practitioner, and yeah, I didn't really get through to the exam. I had a technical issue at the time of the exam, so I didn't go on to really write the exam, but I had studied and prepared for it.
Okay, so my advice to you is work on the Certified Solution Architect Associate because you already went through some of that training. Do you have mine?
Yeah, so right now I'm studying towards the Solutions Architect under the mentorship of Banchika.
Okay.
And yeah, so yeah, I didn't take the exam for the practitioner, so I do have the knowledge, if I can put it that way. So
that's
right
enough.
now I'm studying for the Solutions Architect, and I plan to take the exam hopefully in May.
Good, and Banjika gave you access to my training, right?
Yes.
Okay, I will tell you that I noticed a problem with it yesterday, which I fixed. All of you guys have been so nice and so inspiring, and I've gotten, honestly, people have joined my training program in the last 3 weeks, like 15 people from Nigeria, and a bunch from Ghana, and some from Ethiopia, and a lot from Cameroon, and some from Uganda, some from the Sudan, some from a country named South Africa, some from Mauritius. And I've heard stories that are just so amazing that I decided to take my Certified Solution Architect training, and I converted the entire like 6-hour program into a YouTube video. I'm going to launch it on Monday to make it available for free. Please share that video with anyone that you think that would be helped by this information.
Okay.
Hey, I intentionally built it for you guys. I'm happy to give Banjika coupons any day to access the systems on mine. Mine will be a little bit better of a feeling than it will be on YouTube, but I'm going to post this out. I'm going to ask Banjika to disseminate this information. if it can populate the country of the whole continent of Africa, and everybody can start building the technology, and I can provide the free training for a whole continent, I'm completely happy to do it. So please share that with as many people as you can. I'm going to
That's
release
so
it on Monday.
generous of you, Mike. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
Mike.
that. We're
Thank
so
You're welcome.
happy the community.
I'm
is
also
there.
letting
Thank
you
you
know,
very much.
you're welcome. I'm also letting you guys know that I have a team. You're welcome. And I have a team of some really exceptional people. And with my students, I like to get them practical hands-on experience. And I also like to get their names highly recognized. If they write a document and I can distribute it to 50,000 people, and when they write this document, everybody can get to know their names, it makes them much more hireable. So what I've asked my students to do is to come up with an AWS Advanced Networking book and an AWS Security book, which I'm co-authoring with them. I've already developed the training materials for it, so they're just going to write it up. And you're more than welcome to do it as part of us. I'm going to give those books away completely for free after they're perfected. It should take about 2 months. So that way everybody has the ability to pass the security on a networking exam. The security thing will be written by CISSPs that have a real security background. The networking one will have input from a CCIE with 20+ years networking experience. It's not going to be your traditional cloud training. That's going to be something great. And I will give them to Benjika as soon as they're available to give to all of you, and they will be completely free.
Wow. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And if any of you guys need access to my Certified Solution Architect Professional book, I'm happy to make that available for free. I gave Benjika, I think, 50 coupons, but I'll give 500. I don't really care. I just want you guys to have access to everything that you need.
Great. Great.
Cool.
Thanks so much for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe
if Dr. Gary
someone.
finish with Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's where I am, Mike, and for sure I will link up with you, and
Sure.
we see where we go from there for more mentoring.
Sounds great. You know,
Yeah.
I am happy to do this. I do have 2 programs that I'll tell you about. They're not mandatory for anybody, but I'll tell you what they are. One I built specifically for you guys, and one actually was the one that was my main program. I have a program, and I'm not looking for anybody to buy it here. I'm just telling you what I do and how I do it, so you know a little bit more about me, because Benjik had mentioned that I should. I have 2 programs going on. I have what's called the Cloud Architect Career Development Program that I created. And really it's designed to bridge the gap between certification and hireability. Like, people get real hands-on experience there. They build all the technologies that make a cloud computing environment possible. Then they build the cloud. Then after they build the cloud, they actually do architecture projects where they meet with the CIO in a video meeting. And then they actually design an architecture based upon the business requirements, just like an architect would do. From there, they then take the architecture which they design, and then they build it, they port it to AWS and either GCP, Azure, or Oracle. So they get the experience of working on both clouds. And then we teach them interviewing techniques. We teach them how to gain executive presence, because it has such a big impact on salary, how to speak better, how to write better. That's one program. I have a second program which really came out of some requests that I got from people in different parts of Africa. And they were people that said, I just want hands-on experience. I want real life experience. And I can't go buy $1,000 server to go practice like you told me to. So basically I built a low-cost program which has all the same technical components that exist in my Cloud Architect Career Development Program, without the soft skills, which are critical, without the interview skills, which are critical, and without the emotional intelligence training, and without the 2 calls per week that I could deliver for a low cost, where basically people can VPN access into my servers, and they can start building all the things that make the cloud possible. From there, after they build all the things that make the cloud possible, then they build their own cloud. After they build their own cloud, they start doing case studies. And it's a chance for people to become a real cloud architect and get the equivalent of 5 years or so of real experience in about 16 weeks from the comfort of their home. It's a low-cost program, and I will deeply discount that for the people in the Cameroon if you need it, because I know that for a lot of you, buying a server is not necessarily feasible to do some of these things, but you might still want to practice. Again, I'm just telling you that I have it. I created it for people that were looking for a low-cost way to get hands-on experience. And we launched it last Monday. We've had already a good number of signups, and apparently I need to buy more servers because the 5 I bought last week are getting used up pretty quickly, but that's okay. You got to do what you can to help your students. And I've been blessed to have some of the best students I can imagine. So there are some of the things that I can do. But for you, I would say get yourself certified. At some point, we've got to get you to the professional level minimum. And then I think you need to pick one other thing that you want to learn and get a professional level certification there too, Veronica. So if you like cloud security, It'll be a cloud security it'll be a security certification plus the CSAP. If you're looking for cloud infrastructure, you can learn networking. My students actually can do networking labs on my cloud because I have the same router simulator that Cisco uses internally for testing. They were kind enough to give it to me because I worked for Cisco for so many decades. So, I mean, you can do that, but make sure you get one deep industry professional certification and one AWS professional certification or GCP certification. Just get something that shows that you've got depth and something that shows you've got depth in the cloud, and you should be in good shape.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's great to hear. Any other person who wants to come up and talk, and maybe Mike will take him through and show how he can build his career if there's another person.
I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to talk.
Great.
Hello, are you getting me?
Hi, Mildred.
Yes,
It's
we
nice
can
to
hear
speak
you.
with you.
Yes, Mildred, it's Mildred. Yeah, happy to talk with you, Mike. But let me just go straight to my background. I'm a geography teacher. I have my first degree in geography. Then from there,
Could you just, there's a bit of an echo, so could you just speak a little slower? Did you say, you said something practitioner, I just couldn't hear what it was.
yeah, I said I'm a geography teacher.
Geography teacher, oh wow, great.
Yes, I had my first degree in geography. Then later on, I medical representative.
Can you say that one more time?
Medical representative.
Medical representative, I'm not sure what that is. Could you tell me what that is?
Okay, it's like work with the laboratories, selling drugs, introducing drugs to medical personnel.
Oh, is it like a sales rep for a medical company? Like a drug rep?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, that means sales experience and technical sales experience. Okay.
Yeah, I did a course on that for a year. Worked for 2 years, and presently I moved from Cameroon, and I'm presently in France.
You're in France. Okay, that's good. And do you speak French?
Yes, I try,
Excellent.
but not fluently.
But enough to get by, or how good?
Not just enough. I speak just the basic.
Can you work in a technical position with French, or no, that has to be in English?
Yes.
I mean, is your skill enough to give a presentation in French?
Not quite. No. Not yet, because for now I'm still doing the French course to improve my French.
That's fine. I'm just trying to gauge where you're at, and but you have a visa. Or can you work anywhere if you needed to?
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's not a problem. We can work around that. So I hear geography teacher, medical representative. Do you have any tech background?
No, presently I'm doing the cloud practitioner to take the exams in a few weeks ahead.
Okay. That's good.
Background in I started with no background in IT. I had no background in IT. I'm doing it with Bajika.
There's an echo. I couldn't hear what you said about IT. I'm sorry.
I have no background in IT. Presently, I'm taking a course with the help of Bajika with cloud practitioner.
Okay, good. Okay. So here's what I heard. I heard a geography teacher, which that tells me a couple of things. One is you know how to present, which is a very important skill. Two, you know how to guide people, right? Because they're kids, and kids need a little bit of guidance and leadership. So
Yeah.
that's something that's a really good skill. Now you said you were doing medical representative, which means you're selling product.
Yeah.
Now, in order to sell properly and effectively, you've got to know, got to not only know your product, which gets fairly technical, but you have to be able to ask the customer the right questions. Because I don't believe you sell a product by saying my product's $100, buy it, buy it, buy it. It's cheaper than the rest. I believe you sell a product if you can save someone $1,000 and your product costs $100, it's a great product because they got a good return on investment. But if they don't get more than they paid for, then it's not a good product for them. And the same thing goes in sales. So if you're being a medical rep and you're determining some medications for a patient, you're doing consultative sales. You have to ask the doctor, you know, what type of patients do you see? What are you prescribing for this particular condition? Would you be considering using this additional drug that covers this better, faster, cheaper? So you've already got a lot of that consultation background and speaking background and sales background, which is very useful and completely transferable. The language issue could be a challenge if you're going to try and work as a cloud architect in France, but your English is fine should you want to work in any other country in Europe, that except for Spain, where they do primarily things in Spanish, and Germany, where they do things in German, and France. The rest of the countries pretty much do all business in English. So the fact that you're already in Europe is it's a pretty good thing. And obviously, you know, someone that's capable like you can always pick up on extra French if you need to. I'm trying to walk through the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats like you would do any consulting. So I like that. The fact that you're working on the cloud practitioner is great. Do you have any anything, when you went through that, was any part of that kind of information interesting to you? Like, what did you like the best?
Security.
Which one?
Security.
Security. Okay, great. Well, I think you're now, and you've just mentioned the most exciting thing that I heard all day is that you're interested in security. I think security is one of the 3 best places to build a cloud architect career. A couple of reasons why. Most cloud architects do not, or the people that have been hired do not have the sophistication to truly do their jobs. And because of that, there has been an AWS hack of the day. In many cases, there's like hundreds of them that are occurring each day. People are putting their systems on AWS and they just don't even know how to lock them down. And all their S3 buckets are becoming public and all kinds of crazy things are happening. So if you understand security, you will always, always, always have a job and it will pay well, because the more things that go in the cloud, the more we need to lock the cloud down. So for someone like you with great sales skills from being a sales rep and good leadership skills and presentation skills, I would advise you could do what you like. But I would say, since you like security, to pass like a CEH or a CISSP exam, which is a deep security one, work you up to the way up to the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional. Find a way to do some labs. Now, on my YouTube channel, I list labs to give you cloud architect experience at home that you can do if you have a server. If not, you can reach out to me, and I've got low-cost server access for you to do the kind of labs that are necessary. But I've put out a video on all the labs on YouTube. You can do them all in your home for free should you have a server. So whatever worked for you is good. But make sure you get some hands-on experience outside of just the AWS labs, because they're not enough.
Thank you. Great to hear that.
Who else? It looks like Saiben has a question, but which I'm happy to. Hi, Yolanda.
Hi, Mike. I'm Yolanda, and I'm based in Brussels, and I'm a company accountant.
Okay.
And my work language is French. So basically what I do is I book invoices, incoming purchase invoices, sales invoices. I also do payments, and I do tax declarations as well. And what really caught my attention in tech is that I've been working with accounting softwares, Horizon, WinBooks, Isabel. So each time I have a problem, I have to call a software engineer.
Uh-huh.
I
know all about this. This is the best start of a tech career. That's how I got mine started. Keep going. I love this.
And I'm always amazed how they get to solve my problems within a twinkle of an eye. So I started the cloud practitioner course with Banjika in November. And after a month, I passed the certification. And now I'm currently studying for the solutions architect with him as well. So yeah, basically that's my background.
So here's what and it was pretty darn hard for you to get to France too, right?
Pardon?
How easy was it for you to get to France?
Belgium.
I'm in Belgium.
I'm sorry. You said your work language was French. You said Belgium. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In Belgium, they either speak French or Flemish. So I was trying. I drew that. But okay. What I love about the accounting world is It's a skill that I don't have, by the way, is that it requires extreme detail orientedness.
Exactly.
And you're looking at things going in and things going out. And trust me, this is not me. I wish it was me. I'm a visionary person, not a detail person. But you know, constant attention to detail, which is an incredibly valuable skill. So I like that. I also like that you're starting in tech the way a lot of us did. And the people that come into tech from the background of, you know, it just wasn't working, so I decided I was going to be able to figure it out because I'm tired of calling for help. Those people build some exceptional computing careers. And the reason it's so exceptional is, you know, the average person does not have the motivation when things break to go to figure it out. They just call for help. The motivated person says, I'm tired of calling for help. I'm going to learn this stuff myself. The unmotivated person is just going to not work for the next 4 hours because their computer's not working, and then call for help and then go home at the end of the day. And then 3 weeks will pass, nothing will get done. And then they don't do well in their job. They get fired. They don't get promoted. And it's everybody else's fault other than their own. Your skill to basically say the software is not working, I'm going to learn how to use it. I love it. So what I typically look for in people that I can coach, or what I typically look for people that I can hire, I look for a couple of things. I look for a great attitude, and everybody I've spoken on this call has a positive, wonderful attitude. I look for somebody that's energetic, and I haven't spoken to anybody on this call that's not energetic or enthusiastic, something we look about. Employers look for someone that can go above and beyond. You're figuring out how to troubleshoot things so you don't have to call somebody else. That's going way above and beyond. Love that. I absolutely love that. Employers like somebody that can do the job. The people that have the fight in them to actually learn how to do these things are the people that are going to be successful and competent. You'll be competent. You're safe because you know what you know and you know what you don't know. You're going to do great. What is it you enjoy doing though? Like what if of all the, and I know Simon has some questions we'll definitely answer. But what is it that you want to do?
I'm interested in security.
In security.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I really love the CEH and the CISSP. There is some funny business about when you take these exams, you need some kind of experience component. People like me, for our students or our employees, will find a way to get them past the experience component so they can just take the real test that's going to get them there. I hate seeing people taking what I call wasted certifications, which are like a certification that won't get you hired. So, and there's a bunch of them in the security space, but the CISSP and the CEH are unbelievable certifications. I had the CISSP for about 10 years before I let it expire. I wish I did the CEH. And if I had time, I would do the CEH. I would tell you that I have about 25 students right now. They're all working together on doing a CEH while they're also working together on their CISSP. I'm sorry, on their CSA-P. It is a great certification. So security is a great place to be. Security loves detail-oriented people. Security needs people, especially if you're going to do the security, that can look at these ACLs and not get us, and security groups and firewall rules, and never miss things. When you use security, it's those things that you forget. So accounting and security, what a great combination. Plus, I love the motivation. You're in good shape.
Thank you.
And absolutely, Mike, I must confirm that Jolan is one of the most curious person that I work with, because she's always trying to figure out. She asks most of the detailed questions that I was not expecting. So I think you figuring out that accounting with the detail, they just confirm actually why her personality is the way it is. So Jolan, now I know why.
And isn't it great when you actually study patterns of behavior and you actually study why people do things a certain way? You can start to look into their careers in education and say this. Medical people, for example, are all obsessive compulsive, all of us. And you know, initially it's like, why do I have to check something 3 times? Why? Because if I miss something, someone could die. And we're all so worried about missing things that, you know what we do? We check it. Oh, you know, I don't remember if I checked that chart. I'm going to check it again. And you know, did I miss something? I check that chart again. I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and check it on one of my patients just to be certain that I didn't miss anything. So yes, accountants are going to be like that. And that's why I absolutely love these kinds of things.
Okay, good.
So Ben sent me a message. I'm going to ask Ben's question and I'm going to ask her some more. So Ben said, what is the basic architecture backbone which we can build on? And they said, very fun learning a new skill and getting stuck with a particular step during labs. How do we handle this? Okay, so Saban, you've asked a very valid question. I'm going to give you the guidance that I would give my own family members. The basic architecture of the cloud is a virtualized network and a virtualized data center. That's it. All these people want to make this cloud computing environment sound like something fancy and something complicated. It is a data center and it is a network, and that's it. So if you understand networking and you understand data centers, the cloud is absolutely nothing. But if you don't understand the network and you don't understand the data center, learning the cloud is the most frustrating thing you can possibly do, because it's basically all these weird concepts that don't equate to anything or mean anything. And, you know, I've been dealing with this because I've been for a little while. I spent most of my life building the cloud. We just didn't call it the cloud. We had other things which we called the cloud. We called it frame relay was the cloud, ATM was the cloud, VPLS was a cloud. But the computer stuff, that wasn't the cloud. It was just the network that was the cloud. And what a cloud really means is, just so you know, is it's something that no one understands because it's all hidden from them. And that was the point of the cloud, that it was basically something that you didn't know as the user what actually existed. The problem became is, how do you design something that you don't know what it is? And you can't. So, Shaban, it can be very frustrating. So here's my advice for you, particularly from the beginning. You must learn how the cloud works, which means you've got to learn how to set up a virtualized server. You've got to be able to set up a container. You've got to be able to set up a web server, like an Apache server. You've got to set up a VPN thing. You've got to build a firewall. You've got to do this. And once you do that, all of a sudden these virtualized compute instances or containers all mean something because you built them. And truthfully, the best experience that I've ever given people is to build their own cloud. Once you build a cloud computing environment from scratch and you set up your storage, your compute, your hypervisors, your containers, your databases, it's so easy because you literally have put yourself in a position where you know everything about the cloud because you built it. Then afterwards, you learn the services and you're going to be fine. I have a free YouTube video. I will go find it, and on how to get real cloud architect experience at home. Although better yet, if you really want to know how to get these kinds of experiences, I'm going to run a webinar on Tuesday, and I spend an hour talking about getting experience. I'm going to drop a link to that right over here, Saben. I'm going to put it so everybody can see it. Everybody's welcome to register, and I'd love everybody to be here if they desire. And so for there, we'll talk about how you get the kind of experience to actually be cloud competent. But Saben, what I'm going to tell you is anything that's worthwhile isn't going to come easy. It's everything good is going to be a challenge. It's the challenge that keeps all the other people away. So don't give up. Now, Saben, can you come off of mute? And then I can ask you some actual live questions so I can try and get your situation and give you better guidance.
Hi, Mike. Thanks so much. Can you get me?
I can. You're a little quiet, so if you can just speak up a little bit more.
Yeah. My mic is a bit faulty, so. But
I can hear you well
now. Okay. Right. Fine. Okay. Right. Yeah, Mike. It's a pleasure.
A real pleasure, Sven.
Okay. So my second question was just about from experience trying to learn the cloud. Sometimes you get stuck with one particular thing. Sometimes you spend hours trying to just figure out how to go about it, and it can be really frustrating. So I just wanted to find out your experience during learning. How did you go about that? Because sometimes you spend hours just to achieve, but it's quite satisfactory when you do that and you kind of achieve it, you feel satisfied, but it won't take long if another challenge comes up and you find out that you're burning time and time is not for you. So I just wanted, how did you manage all those when you were learning?
That's a really great question. So for me, the way I've learned things throughout my career, you got to remember I come from a medicine background, is I like to get all the fundamental components and the pieces and parts. And if I understand how every piece and part is and what it is, and then I understand how it works together, I don't have challenges. Now, I will tell you this. I did, and the reason I started this company, and I was retired and I was doing some coaching, and I was very happy being retired and doing a little bit of coaching on the side, loved what I was doing. And the reason I started this company, and I'll tell you why you're struggling, is I had set up a large blockchain cryptocurrency mining data center in the middle of the US, in the middle of nowhere, where it had the cheapest electrical rates in the country. Because with cryptocurrency mining and blockchain work, you could have an electric bill that costs as much as a car each month. And by doing that, the cheaper your electric is compared to what you're getting paid to run the calculations, that's the only place where you're profitable. So I had gone to this data center with 3 students of mine, and basically it was an empty warehouse. And while one of the people was setting up the transformers, the rest of the people were wiring up the power distribution units and the UPSs. Somebody else was racking servers. Somebody else was configuring the systems. In 3 days, we built a data center from an empty warehouse. And when the people saw my team, they said, "Oh my God, Mike, like, where are these superheroes coming from?" I said, "Oh, they were kids. They were struggling in life." So I took them in and I put them through some hardcore physical training, some martial arts to get the anger and aggression out of them. And then I turned them into architects. And he's like, my son's a good kid. I'm like, "Yeah, I know, Nathan, he's great." And he says to me, "Would you teach my kid whatever's most valuable right now because he's ready to graduate college?" And I said, "Of course I would." I said, "The best skill to learn right now is cloud computing." So I bought him 3 of the top selling cloud computing AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Training programs. And 3 days later, he says to me, "Mike, I don't understand what this is. It's frustrating." He says, "I'm hearing about S3, I'm hearing about EBS, I'm hearing about EFS, but what the heck is it?" And I said to him, I said, "Nathan, don't be lazy." I said, "Lots of people can fight hard to learn this. I bought you 3. On Friday, I'll spend 4 hours with you, but go through it." And he said, "Mike, I need you to see this. You wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it." And when I saw the training that was out there, and mind you, I've been building cloud computing environments for 25 years, I was lost. I couldn't figure out which end was up and which end was not up. I was like, what the heck is this? It was just a bunch of terms and a bunch of configuration labs that had nothing related to what it is, how it works, and why you would use it. And I was so frustrated that what I did is I said to Nathan, I said, "Guess what we're going to do? We're going to write a book for passing the Certified Solution Architect Professional Exam." He says, "Write a book? I'm 20. I said, "I'll be the primary author. It doesn't matter. We're going to write a book." And then once we wrote the book, I said, "Nathan, now what we're going to do, we're going to strip out RAID and we're going to strip out some components of CloudFront and a few other things. We're going to give it away for free." And he's like, "Are you crazy? Give it away for free? We just spent 3 to 6 months building this thing." And I said, "There's lots of things that we can do. We can make money, but people need a chance to get real education, and we're going to give it away for free. Imagine how many people bought the training that you couldn't watch." So he's like, "All right, Mike, we can give it away for free." So we gave it away for free. I gave away 25,000 of those books. And what I will tell you so far, and by the time, is when you understand the concepts. Now, if you had my training, I will tell you that apparently the person that uploaded my training to my website for the AWS did not upload it correctly. Yesterday, when I made the YouTube video, I realized that the videos in there were a little bit out of order. So if you go back to that, you're going to have a much better experience now than you would. Everybody here should have access to my Certified Solution Architect Professional book. I gave everybody a coupon. If you don't have it, let me know, and I will give everybody a coupon for that by the end of the day. You can use that professional book alongside my AWS CSA training, and that'll give you all of what you need for the CSA-A and most of what you need for the CSA-B minus a practice test and some good labs to do.
Great.
But
Great.
stay in, Sabend.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Stay in. If you get frustrated, watch. Are you a member of our YouTube channel?
I didn't get you. Yeah, I watch your YouTube channel. I watch most of your presentations, and
Okay.
Just to say that incidentally we shared the same background. I'm of the medical background. I'm an ophthalmologist. I work in Cameroon, so I'm just in here to. It's through Bandika who has been encouraging us to see what the cloud. It looks promising, so we are here trying to really grasp. But it's not easy with the new knowledge, new terminologies every day, battling with them. I think we'll be fine.
Okay, sounds absolutely great. I put out a lot of videos on that channel. I mean, I have a paid program and I have a free program. Obviously, much more goes into my paid training, but I still try and produce, some extremely high quality free training for people. And it's going to be on the YouTube channel. And again, I'm going to ask everyone's help on Monday when I release this nice new video. That's a complete training program. If you can spread that to anyone that you think would benefit or have need, I'm kind of hoping we can basically, give free cloud computing training to the whole continent of Africa.
Great.
Like if 500,000 people would watch this video and get certified, it would make me happy. So there's plenty of things the way as I can coach people, which is my primary business. But if I can provide that kind of training, please help me give it to others.
Great, great. Thank you, Mike, for that. I noticed, Leila, we're coming to you. You have your hand up, but I noticed, I think Dr. Shian has a good question there. Dr. Shian, maybe you want to ask that, or if you are ready, or if you're, yeah, you can ask that. I think regarding non-technical cloud careers. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I know a lot about that as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to unmute and ask some questions?
Yes, Dr. Shian was there, but you're
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to get to the unmute button. Yeah, Mike, it's a very I guess straightforward question. I'm already in cloud. I'm a trainer, right? So I'm actually quite advanced in cloud. But I think there are many people here. A lot of the times when we speak to them, we talk about technical careers, right? I mean,
Yes.
I spent many years at IBM, and I've worked with so many companies around the world in cloud, and I know there is just as much opportunity, right, in the other parts of the business. There are legal practitioners who are experts in drafting contracts specific to cloud services. There are procurement teams that understand how to purchase cloud services, how to do expense management. There are obviously sales as well. Just curious from your point of view, right, what sort of guidance you would provide to those who may not be, interested in the technical track, but obviously still want to get into cloud. I don't know if you have any guidance or experience.
I do, because I've helped people get into technical careers as well as in non-technical careers. And I've helped what I consider to be the hardest transition in the world, which is to go from a technical career to a non-technical career at a company like Cisco or IBM, because they like to keep their technical people in technical, and they don't like to let them out of the technical world as a rule. So a couple of things. When it comes to moving in sales, there, especially at least with US-based companies, they typically look for at least a college degree, whereas sometimes you can get some of these engineering and architect roles without it, but you definitely need to have a degree, ideally a degree in business or psychology or some kind of communications, something that enables people to do that. Now, they still need to get some technical knowledge. It used to be that the cloud practitioner was what's used for the sales rep. I would say the solutions architect associate would be really good for someone that's there. But really, if you want to move into one of the non-technical careers, you've got to learn either sales or marketing. And that's really where the challenge would be. So if someone's got an MBA, for example, they learn a lot of the sales and marketing things in that program, but it doesn't have to come from that. If you want to move into sales, you have to learn how to do a client consultation. What I mean by that is, just like an architect, you have to learn how to ask the right questions. If you want to be in sales, you've got to get good at what I call ROI modeling. The reason is, I don't believe a proper sales rep sells something because they say, buy my stuff. It's great. It's the best. Watch my commercial. Look, it's the fanciest thing ever. If you're really good in skills, and someone that really is good in sales is they can do a value or an ROI. They can look at a business, they can look at the business's technical challenge, legal requirements, and regulatory requirements, and they can say, I see some inefficiencies in your business, and this technology can improve your business efficiency by 12%. The value of the 12% based upon your employee exposure will save you 150 million a year. The technology is 25 million a year. This is a good technology investment. So the key to really moving into any really, really good kind of sales or marketing role, and they're different, and I can explain to the others the difference, is for sales, you've got to get really good at ROI modeling. You've got to be able to show that your solution, by asking the right questions and having enough knowledge, will solve a customer pain point, and to really have something that's really best, that where you always win, it should be better, faster, and cheaper than the competition. If you're 2 out of the 3 better, faster, and cheaper, you will typically win, but you've got to be at least 2 out of 3. So for me, when you want to move into non-technical careers, you've got to develop extremely good soft skills, high levels of emotional intelligence, the ability to perform ROI modeling, the ability to understand what all the services are from what I call an architectural perspective. What is the technology? How does it work? Why you would use it? You have to know to some degree at a high level how all the pieces and parts fit together. And then you need to be able to take customer challenges and design something that will solve a customer problem. Those are the critical sales skills to be an excellent sales rep. And sales reps doing non-technical work will earn very good salaries and very good livings, especially in the US. I don't know in Europe if it's the same way. In India, for example, the technical people earn more than the non-technical people. In the US, for example, the non-technical people earn far more than the technical people in most cases. But there's typically the transition points of what you've got to do. You've got to focus on consultation, ROI modeling, enough knowledge from the architecture perspective, asking the right question, and understanding the business, legal, and technical requirements, which means if you don't have an MBA, which you don't need to do, make sure that you actually learn, the basis of ROI modeling and asking client questions and sales. And there's some pretty good publications on how to do that.
Great.
That's great. Thanks. I think it's helpful to others, I'm sure.
I'm glad you asked the question because not everybody wants to be in a technical career. And I we get in this focus in our mind, it's like technical, but
Yeah, Mike, Dr. Xian is the one I mentioned that we started this all together, trying to encourage the community here. So he's the one I've been working with all along till now. So yeah.
Thank you for doing what you're doing, both of you. When I spoke to some of your students and they were describing you, I was like, I've got to meet this person. Who is the magical person that's just training people? And you've inspired me so much that I've taken on a large clientele too.
Great.
That's good.
Nice. So that was a very good one, at least for the non-technical people. So if you're not, looking into going technical, there's an opportunity there. And Leila, I see you have your hand up. Leila, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Mike. This is Leila. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. So my background is in hospitality.
Okay.
Yes, I have no technical knowledge, no technical skill at all. And so the cloud is totally new to me. And sometimes I can't keep wondering if it's really something that I need or that I can really do. Or even if I were to do that, how can I go about it to be successful? So I keep asking so many questions. All the same, I'm taking the course with Banjika for the cloud practitioner. Yeah, so for someone with background, so
yeah. My recipe for success is as following. And first, what did you do in hospitality first?
I started with chambermaid duties, and then I moved to housekeeping supervisor.
Okay.
And the assistant to the housekeeping manager recently. And then last year, with the pandemic, everything was grounded. So.
So you got some management in there, right?
Yes, of staff personnel.
Oh, well, that's depending upon what you did in hospitality, it would be different. For example, if you were involved in customer service, that would translate extremely well to actually, or concierge, that would translate extremely well into the cloud, because that's an environment where you're doing a lot of consultations. You're working on bringing out the best in others, keeping them happy. Having said that, the background that you have is still valuable. It's valuable from a different perspective. The fact that you're managing others is a leadership skill, and leadership is something that's really necessary. That's there. In order to basically manage others and not offend them, you've got to communicate well. You've got to be able to look at things from another's perspective, which is what we would call empathy, and you've got to have a relatively good degree of emotional intelligence. We should all train those things more. I train them every day, and even me, I've had a very expensive executive coach for many years, because we all need someone to help guide us, because we can't be objective on ourselves. We always have to find someone to help coach us. But I love the management background. That's going to be very helpful to you. The fact that you don't have much of a technical background does not scare me. What really the key for you is, first, if you don't have a technical background, it's going to be a little harder. You're going to have to build a better portfolio of training and certifications. You're going to need at least one level of professional certification, like the CSA-P, and you're going to also need a hardcore industry professional level certification. Do you like networking? Do you like security? Do you like development? Is there something, databases, is there something that you like or find interesting?
Well, at the moment, I can't really say. Everything is still new to me. I'm learning. Probably eventually I'm going to have something that really attracts me, my attention more than all the others. But what if there was a part that has to do with customer service? Then that would really be something that I would do instantly. I wouldn't even take time to think about that. Customer service, dealing with customers, because I love to work with people. I love to interact, and that's the point. So I don't know if that's something that one can do in the cloud. Yes,
there is. So, there's a couple of interesting places for people that like working and speaking with others. So there's the project management side of it, where there's the leadership side, which is good, but you're going to have to get some hands-on technical experience and do some hands-on work first. There's these roles called customer success. And what a customer success role is, it's someone that really is there to make sure the customer is successful in everything they do. So in other words, if a customer is deploying a big project, you work with the program management team, you work with the technical support team, you work with the architects, and you're really the person that's responsible for making sure that everyone is highly successful, that they don't have a botched deployment or a botched architecture. And that's a really consultative environment. They typically call it customer success manager or customer success director or customer success executive, but that's typically a really great role. I've done it for years, where you're really consultative. You're not that technical. You're partially technical, but not super technical. Okay. You still need to have, I would still say you probably should get that certified solution architect professional, because when you have no tech background whatsoever, you've got to basically look good on paper. So I would say to get there, you probably still need to do the same kind of solid cloud labs that I recommend to everyone, because you're going to have to learn how the cloud is. Because if you're going to consult to somebody, you have to know everything that makes things work, how they work, why they work, and those kind of things. So I'd say you should still do that. But I think you can find yourself in a customer success place, especially because you already have some management experience. The key would be dressing up the management experience on your resume and making it still supervisor or assistant manager, but making it something that is a little more ambiguous than exactly what it is, where you can be management in the hospitality environment, because they're probably not going to ask any questions, but it's probably better to just say assistant manager than it is to say assistant manager in like the cleaning department. It'll look a little stronger. If they ask you the question, tell them that it's in cleaning. That's a very important, critical job. It keeps people from getting sick. It's super important. But I would leave it more ambiguous on the resume, because in the resume, you're just trying to get the interview. So on the interview, like on my resume, for example, I have MS and then I have MBA. I don't say that my MS is in nursing, for example, and I'm a nurse practitioner. And when I go on an interview and someone says, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm an internal medicine nurse practitioner. And they're like, oh, cool. But I don't put it on my resume because I want to get the interview in the first place. So I would put assistant manager down on your resume and leave it kind of ambiguous.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know, Mike, you said you had 1 hour 30 minutes, so time is going. I see there are the last two people who have their hands up. It's good you've mentioned that you'll be finding time to come around and speak with us. So I think Yaki, after you, then Solomon will speak. So I'll allow you, Yaki, if you have your question, go ahead and ask that. And then after you, Solomon will come in, and then yeah, Mike has, I think by then it will be 1 hour 30 minutes.
You can tell what's 4 o'clock my time, and I actually have to do a practice interview with the client.
Good.
My off days. I only work 12 hours on off days.
Oh, wow. That's serious. Yaki, go ahead, please.
Hello, Mike. Nice seeing or being on this platform this evening.
So nice to speak with you. What a great name, by the way. That's neat.
Yeah, Alice Kinyoe, actually. Yaki is the pet name. Okay, straight to the point anyway. I know you're much interested in knowing a background in order to orientate yourself. So I'm a nurse by profession.
Great.
And I've worked in different departments. I've worked in neurology, cardiology, pneumology. Yes, I've done that. And I've done district nursing for about 2.5 years, which is very highly diverse. That is from kids to cancer patients to everything you can come across. So, and I moved countries. I'm in Belgium. I was in Belgium before. So I moved countries. I went to the UK and I worked in the operation room and recovery.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, as a scrub nurse, instrumentist, actually. And then I did some courses in critically sick patients, that is intensive care unit. And at the moment, I moved back to Belgium and I'm in Antwerp. I speak Flemish and write Flemish.
Wow.
And I'm back in the operations room at the moment. And I do a lot of still scrub nurse and sorting the materials and observing patients' parameters during operations. And when you said about counting, I was smiling and I was thinking the number of times we do check on the patient's identity, check on medication, counting of sutures, checking propofol, adrenaline 5 times before administering. I was just like, okay, I didn't know that was highly skilled. Anyway, yeah, so that is, yeah, that is what I've got.
People don't get it. That's such a great background, especially a nurse that comes from Africa, because what I learned from Dada and the other folks that trained me, I mean, the amount of diagnostics that you have to do without having access to an MRI machine for every single little blue is just incredible. And nurses over there get experience, the physicians get experience like nowhere else in the world. It's incredible. So you've got as a nurse the ability to communicate with patients. You've got as a nurse the ability to bring together a team of people when things fall apart. You've got the ability to stay calm in a crisis. You've got the attention to detail and the meticulousness. You've got the ability to have some leadership, because when somebody's sick, they are not happy and their family is distressed. And being a nurse, you got to keep all that satisfied. And as a nurse, you're in this horrible position. I'm a nurse practitioner, so it's not so bad for me. But as a nurse, you're in this position where something goes wrong and you now need to find somebody to write an order to prescribe a medication. And that means, you know, one of two things happen. Either as a nurse, you prescribe the medication, the physician signs off on the chart later because they trust you, or you've got to call the physician up or nurse practitioner and you've got to tell them, I've got a patient with XYZ problem and I need you to prescribe an order for this right now. So in either case, you know, that level of detail and that level of knowledge and that level of consultation and that level of communication is exceptionally good. To let you know, I have about 6 medical people in my cloud architect career development program that are just starting their tech careers, and I'm bridging them over for medicine because it comes from it's the best background ever. Because everything that you do in medicine, like the nursing process, assess, diagnose, plan, implement, evaluate. Meet with a client, assess, make a diagnosis, make a plan, implement the plan, and evaluate the plan. That's what you do as an architect. So it's identical. So the job is identical. The only difference is you're not dealing with people and medications, you're dealing with technology. So for that, you've already got a good thing. Now, do you have any places that you love to be on the cloud, or anything that you're finding interesting and exciting along the way?
Actually, initially, what pushed me was I've got 4 kids. It was all about my kids. I was like, in the medical field, I know if one of them is interested in any direction, I know how to guide them. But I know that the world is getting very technological. There's high technology out there. And I was like, yeah, definitely one of them would like to do something in that field. And I would like to have a basic knowledge. So years back, I think 2017 or 18, I did big data, which I got certification for as well.
Good.
And at the moment, I am presently doing AWS with Banjikam.
Excellent. You have my training, obviously. Make sure you have it. And if anybody doesn't have it, or you ran out or need more coupons, Benchika, let me know. And obviously I want to spread out the YouTube one because I know that's where I can do it. But if you're anyone in your team wants to use access to my private systems where you can do a 20-minute module versus a 5-hour video, just please tell me and I'll give you as many coupons as you desire.
Right.
So I love the position you're in from the healthcare. The big data is good. Security is good. Now, how old are your children?
I've got almost, she'll be 18 in December. I've got two teenagers. One will be 15 soon. And the youngest is 9, will be 10 as well. And I've got a 12-year-old, she'll be 12 in a few days.
Well, there's a 12-year-old that's already an AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. I will give you as many courses as you need for all of your children to take this to get them started. I think it is so wonderful that you're here to build something in tech so that you can help your children. I can't even tell you, like, every day when I realize the students I have, some of it brings me to tears because I'm dealing with people that are such fine people. Because, you know, we don't hear this kind of thing every day in America. We watch the news where somebody shot each other or stabbed each other, and here you're going to learn a whole career just to take good care of your kids. You are amazing, and so that's good. If you or one of you wants to be a part of our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, that's great. And if your kids want to attend it at the same time when no one's looking, I don't care either. And that way, by the time they're done school, they've got a really good skill set. That's completely fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. The last person, so that Mike can go, that was Solomon. Please, Solomon, go ahead and ask
right.
the question. Yeah.
Hi, Mike. Thank you very much for this presentation. Yeah, my name is Solomon, and professionally, I've been into different professions. Currently, I'm working in the area of criminology, helping people who are going through the criminal justice system in Florida build competencies so they can go through the system. Besides that, I have worked as conflict resolution practitioner. I have also worked as a teacher, and I've also been involved in worked in Cameroon as education administrator. So these are the various areas that I've been in. And when it comes to education, I have a PhD in conflict resolution. And currently I have a master's in information assurance and cybersecurity.
Wow, yeah.
And in terms of certification, I have CompTIA Security Plus.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the CISSP. I heard you talked a lot about CISSP. And I also, with Banjika's mentoring, I was able to obtain the AWS Cloud Practitioner last year.
Excellent.
And I'm working on the cloud solution with him. So, so I will be eager to hear from you. How do I go about this transition? Because sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes talking to people, how do I bring these things together so that it makes sense to a lot of people, especially to recruiters?
So you've got a tremendous amount of background in education, which is wonderful. So you're teaching people, you've got an education, you've got a directed education with some security things. I absolutely love that. On the certification side, being brutally honest, the CompTIA certifications do not hold that much value. And I don't mean that in a negative way, I'm just being brutally honest. But the CISSP and the CEH hold tremendous value. Tremendous value. And if you combine either one of those, and I can tell you the advantages and disadvantages of each, with your master's degree in security, wow, that's going to help. Assuming you want to do security, by the way?
Yes, that's what I want to do.
Okay, well, if you like security, there's two ways you can go. There's the CEH and the CISSP. They're very different exams. The CEH is a deeply, deeply, deeply technical exam. Having the CEH and nothing else is enough to get hired on its own, even if you didn't have a college degree. The reason the CEH is so valid, and it's an expensive certification too, by the way, is there's two parts to this test. The first is basically a deep security knowledge test, and the second one is they make you literally hack into systems in front of proctors. So the CEH is probably the most valuable hands-on security certification in the world. The CISSP, which I've had to maintain for 10 years, is more of a semi-technical certification. and it is designed predominantly for people like you and me that are highly educated, that want to write a security policy for an organization and be like the chief information security officer, or be part of the security team, but be the leader on the team that's going to determine the way you write the policy, the types of security parts that need to be there. Combining that with an AWS certified solution architect professional, and you are going to be really solid. The question I have is, how much hands-on knowledge and data center background do you have?
I do not have any hands-on knowledge in data center management.
Okay, you're gonna have to get some kind of knowledge in data center technologies if you want to work on the cloud. Data center technologies include virtualization, containers, and the such. I have some free YouTube videos on my page, which can teach you how to do that. But realistically speaking, you're in a position that you've got to get that kind of hands-on knowledge somehow. You just have to. So get a server if you desire. There's a YouTube video that I created that has a list of some projects. I'm going to find it for you. I'll give you guys two other options.
Hi, my name is Mike.
And bear with me. I'm just trying to go through my video so I can actually find this video for you guys. Nope, not this one. I don't know why I have ads on my YouTube channel. I don't want them. I'm not getting paid for them, and I kind of tried not to advertise, but they're taking ads on my channel now. I don't want my students.
Michael Gibbs, and I've been working in technology for over 20 years.
I don't want my students to have to look through ads. So this video that I created is a video to teach you how to get real cloud architect experience in your own house, because you're going to have to know how this works.
Okay.
And I will tell you what I've created for experience, to get people experience only, is I've created this.
Okay.
And it's an experience program. Everybody here is from the Cameroon, right?
Yes, the Cameroon.
Well, hold on one second. I am going to do two things. Oh, Solomon's in Florida?
Yes.
Yes, I'm in Florida.
Oh, we should meet someday.
Okay. I'm in Florida.
So what I've done here is, if anybody's interested in doing labs in my environment, this is only for people that are in the Cameroon or have just left the Cameroon or have gotten to the US or someplace else that are struggling. This is a 40% off coupon for either the practice labs or my career development program. It's called Cameroon, which I may or may not have spelled correctly.
Okay.
And so that's 40% off of any of the training that's available on my website. If it's related to a book or a certification course, you can have all that. I'll give that to any of you guys completely for free. I can't do this completely for free because they're either time intensive or equipment intensive, for which I have to buy servers and things. So, but I can definitely discount it to what my cost would be, so that no one in this group is paying for anything more than that. Because what I've seen from Banjika and the way that he's working with others, I'm totally blown away how great it is. So anything that I can do to help you guys along the way. And that coupon will work for either one of these things. And if for some reason it doesn't work, because I'm really bad at developing coupons, I'm much more of a technical architect than I am at trying to sell products, the 40% off will work on either one of these either one of these programs if it's helpful for any of you.
Okay. Good. I have that copied. So
thank you very much, Mike.
And I have on Monday.
Thank you, Mike.
You're all welcome, and it's so nice to speak with you. On Monday, I will be doing the How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, and that's free. I'm going to pop this in a link. On Tuesday, I'm going to do How to Get Experience webinar, and you can do this on my servers or your servers. It really doesn't matter. I just want to know that you guys have access to the best that we have to offer. And one of the things that I wrote a year or two ago for another project was how to act in a meeting. Because if you work in a company that has lots of meetings can get you promoted. So I'll pop that there. That's completely free. And if you know anybody that wants a good book on AWS, this is free.
It seems your time is up. That was actually,
that was actually someone texting me to say, hey, by the way, aren't we doing an interview?
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, so the time is 9 a.m. EST, which is going to be 2 p.m. GMT. So if you're in Central Europe, it'll be 3 p.m.
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all so much.
We should be thanking you, Mike. It's been great having you here. It's been a wonderful time. You've really done so much for us this evening.
Anytime I can help, I will let you know. As soon as we release that free training program, please help me share the word on that. And as soon as the books on security and on the professional cloud networking are available, I'll give them free. You should have access to my Certified Solution Architect professional book. It's hosted on my website, but there's a coupon. If you need any more coupon codes, you let me know and I'll give you an unlimited number.
Absolutely, that's fine. Yeah, Dr. Shian, you have something for Mike before he goes?
Sorry.
Yes.
Bear with me 1 second.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Sorry, I was just trying to. I think I was already on mute. I wasn't sure. No, Mike, this has been amazing. I thank you so much for joining. I was just sitting here. We haven't had an opportunity to have a chat, right? So this is my first interaction with you. And I think the information you shared here, I think would be so useful to many of the people on this call. And I actually think your background as well. So if we put aside what you said and just listen to the story of where you came from, I think there are so many people as well who are in the healthcare profession. And just listening to you talk about your story, the journey you've been on, I think it would be quite inspirational and motivational for them.
If you've got a large group, I'm always happy to speak. I'll do anything I can to help.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thanks so much for making the time.
And if you ever, and since I spent most of my life at either Cisco or others, I know someone was talking to a technology minister or something like that. If there's any way that I can help or get involved in a meeting to really help you guys out, just let me know.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much, Mike. Yeah, we'll definitely take that into account. Yeah.
Good. I'll do anything I can to help you guys. You guys have honestly, it's been such a nice experience. All of a sudden I usually have a lot of Nigerian folks on my call, which you expect, because that's kind of where I think of the Silicon Valley in Africa. And then all of a sudden I've got this group of people and they're just so nice and so pleasant. And I'm so happy to be working with everyone. So anyway, I'm very grateful too for the opportunity to interact with you all.
Great,
okay,
great, wonderful.
Thank
you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mike. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to say I bought Mike's course and trust me, it's been revolutionary for me. It's just put so much into context that Brother Ban has been teaching us. If anyone can get their hands on that course, trust me, it would do a lot for you.
Nice.
His coaching and mentoring is just amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mike, I think that's your call. I wouldn't really want to let you stay for long. And I would just say, yeah, we'll definitely catch up later and have a great day.
Wonderful. Take care. And it's such a pleasure. Be well.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye. As Mike is leaving, we'll just continue. And I think, sorry, Therese, I noticed you had your hand up, but Mike had to go since we said Solomon was the last person to speak. But maybe if you have a comment, maybe we can just go around and just maybe each and everyone share their feelings, or if there are other extra questions or observations. Yeah, that's just what we can maybe have just for a few minutes before we go. So Teresa, I'll allow you to be the first person to speak since you had your hand up. Teresa, are you there?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It was an interesting evening.
Sorry?
But I've not been able to ask my question, although but I learned from the
Going to come
others.
back, so it's not bad. He said
So, but I had a hot question to ask.
okay.
But Prof, you are going to answer my question.
Try
Since
it.
you have not let me ask my question, you will answer my question.
Okay.
It might be no now, but what he shared was interesting. And for everyone who asked the question and participated, it was also interesting. And to learn that all the skills that we have, they matter in the cloud is an important thing, because sometimes we minimize the skills we have. He talked of consultation. Those are things like we do, but we don't consider it as a technical skill. That's we meet with people, talk with people, discuss with people. And sometimes we do like the sales thing, but we don't really know that it's a technical skill that we do. But coming to this call and listening to him talk, then we come to see that we have some social skills that can also be taken to cloud. And for example, there was someone, who goes to managing a business. Although you are employed by a company, you manage a business and then do the sales. You do the sales, do consultation, but client to client. And then at the end of the day, they ask you, what is your technical skill? And then you start thinking, okay, then that's something I have to work with the computer or with the technical world to be able to make that a skill. But from this call, I've learned a lot. Every skill that you have matters. Everything that you do on daily life, it matters as you are moving on into cloud. It's not only what you are going to learn in cloud that's going to make you technical. Some of the things we already have them in us, but we don't know how to where to really set them as techniques that we use. But this core is like a mind opener that will open up to some of the things that we actually underlook or undermine, that are not skills that are really real life things that we go through, that we can also learn and take them to cloud. Okay, like I had a question, okay, like we talk of other sections. Okay, so sections like you do consultation, you're working in the social sector, for example, my background is from the social sector. But before I'm getting in the social sector, I've done a lot of things along the line. I've done teaching as well. I've done sales also as well, like sales representatives as well. I've done consultations as well. And I've come to see that at least in those areas, we also apply some techniques in order to get information or to inform the customer or the clients. And this looks like it also applied into the cloud. But some of the things, my question is, then how do you sometimes integrate this with cloud? Because cloud for me, it looks like something abstract. Like, okay, I don't have a background in tech and so on, but how do you integrate this with cloud? If you can help me answer this, is also going to help me to understand certain areas better. Thank you.
Sorry, you said, how do you integrate what? I missed that, sorry. The last thing you said.
Okay, I say, how do you integrate these techniques that you apply in your daily life?
Okay.
With the cloud.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Ban, do you want to go, or do you want me to share my view first?
I'll let you go, Dr. Shian, that's fine.
Yeah, I think, this is just my personal view, right? Because we're all here because we're exploring cloud, right? And sometimes we talk about these skills as though it's related only to cloud. I think these are life skills. These are skills that make you impressive, the way you communicate, right? He listened to some of us speaking here, and he probably speaks to people from all over the world, right? A lot of Indians. And one of the things, I've been in forums where we have a lot of Indians. I think this is just my personal opinion. I may be incorrect, and you may even argue that it might not be politically correct to say it the way I'm going to say it. But I think I think we are able to articulate ourselves a little bit better. Maybe it's, again, partly to do with the language, maybe partly to do with the fact that a lot of us speak different languages, right? So things like that do matter, right? And that's also why I asked him to talk about non-technical professions, because the reality is that you don't honestly have to be technical to have a job in cloud. That's the reality. You can actually I have a friend of mine who is Cameroonian. He works at Google. He's in sales in the US, in Chicago. I met him last year around January. And at the time, we were just having a chat. I was there to teach a class. And he was asking me questions about, potentially moving into Google. He was doing sales in another company. And, 4 months down the road, he finally got the job in Google. And he would be the one to tell you that he's not, he understands, cloud. He can, if you tell him what a product does, the value proposition, right, he can get up to speed quickly. But I'm sure they hired him because of his personality, because of his exposure. Now, there may be an element of he's been in sales before, right? But I think the way he presents himself, how articulate he is, right, his passion, right? A lot of those things are very important. And companies like Google will teach you anything you want. I run courses as a trainer. When they hire people like new employees, I teach them, right? A few weeks ago, I ran a security class for internal Google engineers. Why would they have those guys go through a class? If the expectation is that to get a job, you need to be an expert, right? There is an understanding that people need to be, brought up to speed, right? So you should never diminish. I think a lot of the times it's really down to you understanding yourself, you doing a bit of research. One of the things I was going to ask Banjika, and unfortunately, I don't know anyone. I was just thinking that I think it would be great to have someone come and talk to us who actually is from the business. Yeah, who is not from the technology part of a cloud company, to tell us about what they do in that part of the business, especially someone from sales, to tell us about what is important in terms of hiring a sales rep. What sort of experience are they looking for? Because sales ultimately is about emotional intelligence. It's about being able to connect. There's an element of the mechanics of sales where you have ROI and finance and all of that stuff, but that's stuff that anybody can do. The best salespeople are people who have a high level of emotional intelligence. They know exactly how to make you feel good and how to make you feel listened to, how to make you feel like they're addressing your problems, your challenges. Because when you're buying something, you're buying it because you have a need. You have a burning desire to acquire something for a reason. The best salespeople know how to have conversations with you to uncover what that reason is. So when it comes to you parting with your money, it's not an issue because so a lot of those things are so, so important. And I've worked with technical guys who maybe are not so technical, but the customer loves them. They tell stories. Everybody's asking, where is John? I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. John is not necessarily the most technical guy, right? But what he does, what he lacks in technology, he makes it up from his personality. So I just wanted to say that we shouldn't just feel that. And the other thing as well is all this thing we talk about certifications, right? I think it's good in the beginning. I know he said that, I just have a different view on it. I know he said that, to get to where we get to, a lot of us need to be certified or whatever. I personally disagree because I've worked in companies like IBM and even Google. And do you think all of those guys are certified? What percentage of them do you think are certified? If you had to guess, what percentage? Do you think it's even more than 25% of people working in Google are certified on Google? I will be surprised if it's up to 25%. I honestly would be surprised. And how many leaders like VPs and people like that do you think have a certification? Hardly any. They don't need it, right? So certification for me is very, very important where we all are now in our journey. I agree with that because it gives us a structure, it gives us a framework. right? It allows us to focus, because he said something which is very important, focus. It's important to focus. So I definitely agree that it really, really helps, right? And the other thing is, if you're getting into a profession, how do you convince somebody that you've made the right investments? You can't just tell them that I've read this book and that book and things like that. So being able to tell them that you've gone through this certification really helps, because everybody knows what that means. So I'm saying very, very important that we do the certifications and all that. But the point I'm really trying to just make is that don't believe that's the be all and end all, right? The things that you already know, the things that you've acquired through life, those soft skills, right? Your personality, your confidence, all of those things, that is what will, in my view, will ultimately shine, right? Because people know that a smart person, if you put them through a program, and most of these very good companies like Google, when you join as a new hire, they put you through training, right? They'll put you through whatever training you need to do. Companies like IBM do the same, right? The best companies in the world, they'll always put you through the relevant training, right? So let's just be mindful. And the reason I'm spending a lot of time talking about this is because I really, really think it's important. And part of it is that sometimes we don't believe in ourselves, right? We kind of diminish things that we've done. We need to highlight it. Now, until he mentioned that he was a nurse practitioner, I would have thought he was a consultant specialist in some whatever it was. But you see what he said. He said it himself. You need to choose your words carefully, right? You don't need to say you are he was talking about his degrees, right? And he said he puts whatever his MBA or whatever it was. You don't need to necessarily say what that is, right? Then if it comes up, yes, you can talk about it. You put your best foot forward, right? And I think he was talking about hospitality, right? And said, you can just say you're a manager, but management is an amazing skill. And some people would even argue that managing people who may not be motivated, or people who may not have the level of, you might call it discipline, that people who are in maybe people who have gone through a higher level of education would have, is even more challenging. If you can manage those people and get productivity out of them, you can manage anyone. Some people argue, right, that that's the case because the other people are motivated and know what they're supposed to do, right? So, Ben, I'll pass it on to you. Yeah, wait, did I miss something? Yeah, go ahead.
Want to go and sleep.
Yeah. No, Shian, I think I just want to Therese, you want to say something? You heard what?
No, I just want to thank Dr. Shian for adding to that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right. I mean, I think what Mike did emphasize, and as Dr. Shian as well is saying, I think we really do not put the right value on our skills. And we look at this, it took so long for us to convince many people here to start the cloud, right? We talked about it. We tried to just like throw it out there, and until we started these weekly sessions before people jump in. And now you can really see that I think many people can see that they can do something, or those who after coming, I think Shulika here can testify. She was asking just questions everywhere in October, but after some time, she comes and she's leading us with security trainings and calling these things that were so abstract for us in the beginning. So we don't really put the right value on ourselves. We doubt ourselves so much, and the other thing I did like, which also I did appreciate, is the fact that we have to focus, right? You can't know all of cloud because it's a very big field. And the idea of when you get employed, you are trained. That is something that I remember I was going through the AWS interview that I had. I went through the 2 interviews, but then didn't make it to the 3rd. But they definitely still along the line, they will tell you that they take about, when you join, they spend about 3 to 6 months just making sure that you are well trained, and it's after a year they can really start really trying to figure out how good you are in that role, the senior solutions architect level they are taking. But so one thing that goes there is in the very first interview, they didn't really bother about my technical skills. So it's more of your personality. And all of us here come across with, irrespective of your field that you are involved in, there's a personality you've developed, right? And you can look at how Mike was talking, how the medical field operates. You go listen, diagnose, then pick a solution and you implement it. The same thing will happen in the architect. It's just that you have to switch and start thinking of services and the rest. So many times people have come here asking if the cloud is for me, is the cloud is for me. But I think now it's now up to anyone to really make up the mind and say, definitely I can do this. When you hear someone like him, the experience he has had moving from martial arts, paramedics, and then moving to doing Cisco for a long time. Cisco was the area of networking, and then jumping into the cloud and offering trainings. If he can do it, it's not just he's got a different brain than any one of us here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think we just have to believe in ourselves more. We just have to realize that we've got skills that no other people have. We tend to feel like maybe my job is not so good enough. I think we have to believe that we are special in way we are doing, especially if you are doing your job in a way that deep in you, you know you are giving your best at work all the time. Because I'm not saying that if someone is lazy, you can or always avoiding work, then you can think that, okay, you also. But if you are very good at work, the job you are in and giving your best, I definitely believe you can also be good in having a cloud, a career in the cloud. Yeah.
And by the way, Ban, let me just add one thing you mentioned, focus, right? It's so important. I'll tell you a story, and this is personal. When I began in my early career, I used to, actually, you might say it helped me in a way, in the sense that I don't know who it was. Somebody talked about the fact that they don't like, they have a very short attention span, and they don't like to work on something for too long. Who was that? Who made that comment,
That
Ban? Do
was
you remember?
Dr.
That
Vero.
was Victor
It's
Vero.
me. It's
Oh,
me.
Vero. Vero, if there's
Yeah.
Vero, if there's anybody like that, I'm like that as well. I hate, what's the word? Routine. I hate routine. And when Mike was speaking, that question you asked actually was when I was paying attention, but I actually paid more attention because I think Mike hit the nail on the head. I've done multiple jobs in my career. And what Mike told you about pre-sales, it's so spot on. Let me explain how pre-sales work, because I was a pre-sales practitioner for many years. And I also was a manager for a few years before I went to South Africa, right? The beauty of pre-sales is that you're traveling to go and meet a customer. And usually you go with salespeople, right? And your job is to maybe have a conversation, do something technical, right? So there's an element of travel. You need to, and you said you like to travel, right? So there's an element of you're on the road. So clearly it means that your day is not a full day, right? You're not working, you're not like sitting in the office where you get in at 9 o'clock and you work until 5 and then you go home. You need to factor in the travel. Sometimes you leave early, right, to get there maybe for a 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock meeting. But you, at the same time, you leave that meeting maybe at 1 or 2, and then you head back home, or sometimes you have to stay at the hotel, right, stay overnight or whatever. But it's not as bad as being a services practitioner, because when you're a services practitioner, you can find yourself working for one customer forever. And if you're unlucky, that customer could be in Finland or in Siberia, and you'll be staying there, right, in a hotel for God knows how long away from home. So the beauty of pre-sales is that you're meeting different customers. Guess what? In most cases, I didn't really care whether the customer liked me or not. It's unlikely I was going to go back there, right? I go do my job with the sales guy. They do whatever they need to do, and I move on. I go to the next customer. I do a POC, a few weeks, right? So I think knowing your personality, right, the type of person you are, is so important. Because I think at this stage, I know some of us are trying to transition, and we always look at like the grass is greener on the other side. And the only green grass that we may see is the fact that this job appears to give flexibility, and the fact that there seem to be more opportunities and maybe more money, right? But if you don't think about your personality, then you could end up, making the wrong decision or moving into the wrong cloud role. Because like I said, there are many different cloud roles, right? So trying to look for where, you know, what you would really, really enjoy is so important. Like, I think it was Solomon who was talking about security. For me, it's so obvious, right? Security is one of the biggest areas in cloud. So you wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't even ask anybody for advice. I would just, the key question is simply, how do I, whether you want to, you know, specialize in terms of a cloud provider, or whether you want to go maybe for a consulting company, companies like, what do you call it, KPMG, Deloitte, and all these people have security services, right? That's another angle, right? So I think that's important. But the last thing I'll say before I pass it on to back to Ben is that in my early career, I tried to do too many things. Yeah. So because of that personality that I have, right? I don't have focus. I don't like to focus too long on just one thing, right? So I do a lot of things. I start something and I need to move on, right? So one of the things I've learned in the later half of my career is this. It doesn't mean that you change that personality that you have. I think if you're going down the cloud journey, I honestly would advise that it's better. Sometimes people may be tempted to look at different clouds, and I know there's value in understanding a little bit about, but I actually think from evidence, in terms of me having tried both, I think it's much more efficient for you to really understand one cloud well, extremely well, right? And when you've understood one cloud extremely well, in other words, you get to a point where you can more or less figure things out. Of course, you would never know everything because the cloud is changing very, very fast. So even if you did all the certifications today and passed, if you don't keep learning, a lot of that knowledge would be not relevant, right? In a few months' time, because they would have added some new services or changed things. So when you get to a point where your level of understanding is at a level where you can adapt, right? And you can learn new things on your own, then I think you can start looking at the other clouds, because guess what? And when you start looking at the other clouds, you don't need to take an exam. And I would even argue that you don't even need to be certified. Now, Mike said a point which I totally agree with. A lot of the times on LinkedIn, you'll see people, you know, celebrating their 17 certifications or whatever they have, right? Personally, that diminishes the value that I see in you. I don't see how you could be really that good if you have 17 certifications. I honestly don't see it. I just think you're an exam junkie, right? You take it's like you being a drug addict, right? And your addiction is taking exams and putting trophies on the wall. Because to truly understand these technologies, you need to apply it. An application requires time to have conversations with customers, right? To work on projects, to implement whatever you're implementing. They're just X number of hours in the day. Unless you're Superman, you just can't do it. Yeah. So I agreed with him 100%. And he made that point as well. I think focus is so important at the beginning, right? And that really helps you. The way I look at it is when you start getting to a point where, like Banjika said it, I think at some point a few calls ago, right? That when you start dreaming about this and you can't wait to go home, you're kind of out somewhere in the beach or whatever, and you can't wait to go home because it's like a video game. It's like your kids, they want to play that video game and they keep saying, let's go back, let's go back. You don't know why, but that's the reason why. When you start feeling like that, then you know you're connecting to something, right? And then you know that that's something you would do even if you're not getting paid for it, right? I think that's the way we should all look at it, because we don't want to make the wrong decisions, right? You don't want to do this because everybody thinks it's great. You know, do it because it's right for you, right? And if you find yourself struggling, you know, then I think just have conversations, right? Reach out to myself or Banjika or whoever. Have a conversation with them, because believe me, there's just so many different roles, right? And we all can only explain things from our own position point of view. But if you understand that as well, then you take what we say with a pinch of salt. You don't just assume that everything we say would be relevant to you, right? Because our view is limited, right? We are technical people. Yeah, but I can assure you, like he said, in the UK, the people who do the most well, who actually, apart from the people who set up the companies and like founders, but in terms of the people who really make the most money, if money is what motivates you, are the business people, right? Unless you are a founder, right? Yes, if you're a founder,
then of course, right, you can be a billionaire or whatever. But otherwise, right, the technical people, yes, make whatever, maybe, 6-figure salaries. But guess what? Some of the business people are driving Ferraris, right? If you go to like Vodafone, where I worked, right, Vodafone Group in Newbury, or you go to IBM, right? Some people, you may not even realize it. You go to IBM in some of their offices in the park, in the labs, right? You see Ferraris and stuff like that parked outside. I can assure you it's not the architects driving those Ferraris. It's the salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. Two takeaways from what Dr. Shian has said that I think everyone should take serious, and which Mike also echoed, right? You have to be very good in one cloud, and Mike did talk about depth. So aim to get at least the professional certification. Let's say if you are doing AWS or you are doing GCP, have depth, and then after depth, then at least then you can articulate the cloud in a particular one cloud, maybe to a certain level, to a certain degree of satisfaction, and then pick an area of specialty. If it could be security, then that is now the focus. So Mike just talk about depth. He did talk about then having focus. So focus is like, okay, out of this broad, because the architect, you talk about a little bit of security, you talk about a little bit of networking, database, and then architecture, all of that. But then if you decide that, okay, now I've looked at all of this, where should I specialize? Then you go for either security. And he also made the other recommendations. Dr. Shia, I don't know what you think about this, but I don't think it's really compulsory, but if you can do that, that's fine. So if you want to do security and you decide to go for an industry certification for security, yeah, if you can add that, the other thing is that it distinguishes you. So you are not just a person, right? You're not just, so.
No, I agree with that, Ban. I think he definitely, I would recommend that as well. And not just from the point of view of what he said. I've actually done it as well. I've looked at some of those industry things and they do add value, right? So you learn a lot. Sometimes with these things, I know we want to get a piece of paper, right? But sometimes you also know that this was useful, right? And those things are useful. Yeah.
Right. And then the other good thing about the job is, I mean, the area of cloud, like he's saying, there's a skill gap. So even if you get the depth in the professional certification for a particular cloud and then specialize in a particular area, and while doing that, the point is you don't wait to do all these certifications before you are looking at the job, So while doing that, be looking at your opportunities, you heard what he said. He was reaching out to recruiters, knowing what recruiters were looking for, and then building himself up that way. So that's why we keep encouraging everyone here, have a LinkedIn profile. Don't wait that you have the certifications and then go and put them on LinkedIn and then start looking for recruiters. Have a LinkedIn profile, be reaching out to recruiters. Some recruiters may even reach out to you, ask them questions, try to be building yourself and have a plan, like in 1 year, 2 years, this is where I have to be. So I think that is another strategy that I think everyone can maybe take along. And the other point is, it's definitely not going to be, I think the thing with the cloud is, I think anyone who has taken this serious have realized there's going to be a time that if it's not calling on you, like Dr. Shian said, it's going to be, there will be times that you will have to get up when maybe you are not expecting, you find yourself studying when you didn't plan to, but that's when you want to really, really understand it. And there will be sacrifices. Why I'm saying so is, I think it's Dr. Siben who was asking how to go around the difficult topics. The only way is to sit and put in the hours. So when you encounter some difficulties, the only thing you are going to do is sit down and put in some hours, and it's in English. The other advantage that most of us don't realize is that technology is English. There are some people who come out who are completely in a different language, and their first challenge is to read this and understand. So for us who speak English, we're another step ahead. So the encouragement could be that let's take these key areas, go into depth, focus, and put in the necessary hours. We heard what Suzanne said here. She was doing 4 hours a day. I don't know how many hours each and everyone do here, but you have to be putting at least some hours around the difficult areas. I think that was much talking so much from our side today. I see Dr. Vero, you still have your hand up. Maybe you want to come in, and maybe others who maybe just want to come in as well while we go slowly to round the evening. It's a long one. Let's not take it too long. So go ahead, Dr. Vero.
Okay, thank you, Ban. I think for me, I just wanted to again just touch on some points that you and Dr. Shian have already talked about, and based on the question from Therese, like how will you, looking at it from the area, how can you use what you have already, based on your experiences, the jobs you've done, to move into cloud. And I will give an example here of how, like they will okay, you can put it like transferable skills which you already have, like things you already have that you can transfer into cloud. And I like the way Mike was really taking each of our background and saying how you can translate that to cloud, kind of. So I just want to give like an example, myself as an example of how I moved from being in the academic as a researcher into writing what I'm presently doing. I had to do like, re-engineering my experiences and then transferring them to writing, to the job that I had to do with writing. And at the time it was, the job was advertised as someone who has to coordinate something, but you needed to have some writing, you had to communicate and things like that. But then I used what I already had, like, okay, I was already writing papers I had published before, and I was already, doing presentations. I was able to communicate and things like that. Then I transferred all those things like examples into my CV. I had not been in the pharmaceutical world before, but I had to then use what I already knew and transferred it to my CV, putting it in the crude sense of it. And I know that the main thing for that job was coordination. How was I going to then show an example of having coordinated something? Because you needed to have some experience in coordination and things like that. And I remember that there was a time when we were organizing, I don't remember, was it Bonkisheri or NFU or something, that I was coordinating dances and things like that. And I put it in my CV that I was coordinating dances for a conference that was organized within my community. No one will go to ask, but again, that was something that I did. So, and I transferred that to my CV to show that I had done something on coordination, you see. So don't minimize what you are doing now. You can easily transfer what you're doing to your next job, whether in cloud or in any other thing that you will be doing in the future. So that was just something I wanted to touch on. To again, don't look at what you're doing. Like for Leila, who is in hospitality, she has been supervising and things like that. When you go based on how the job has been advertised, you have to look at those things that you have done. They will always be asking for experience and things like that. And if you can articulate that in your CV, how you've been, supervising or working as a team, even what we are doing now, for example, for the practitioner or for the associate, presentations, you prepare presentations, you give them to your peers and things like that. So you can always look at what you've done and transfer that to a CV or based on what is needed in the job application. And it's always important to look at that job, what has been advertised in that job advert. To not just put your CV, let's say you prepared your CV for a job in sales, or for example, then you take the same CV and you put it for a job in teaching, for example. You really have to always customize your CV based on what has been advertised. So again, a lot of us are doing things that can really be transferred into so many aspects of jobs. So that's just what I wanted to talk about. And I really have done that in practice by moving from academia into the pharmaceutical world, and I transferred the skills that I had gained in that academic world into the pharmaceutical world. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Okay.
That's really
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Vero. Go ahead. You want to add something or make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to add to the point Auntie Vero did speak about, saying that also with what Mike also told us, that we shouldn't underestimate what we are doing, right? Because there's also, speaking about culture, because of my CV, I did add that I'm part of I'm part of that organization. And I remember the job I had during the interview, they saw that and they were curious and asked, okay, what's this read in my CV that I'm part of for Europe? What's it all about? And then I spoke about, then happened to speak about, we also have conventions where we meet, you get to connect with one another. And they were really impressed because they said, okay, they really like such someone that can belong to organizations too, because it also shows that you have the people spirit. You're not only in your own point, you're not only in your own corner and kind of isolate yourself, especially with the IT field, that teamwork is also very important. Dealing with people, interacting with people, it's also very important. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Any other person that has not maybe made a comment today, you want to come up? Or maybe Dr. Shian, you wanted to add something?
No, I'm good. I think I've spoken too much, right? So I hope this motivates, especially the nurses, right? Because essentially Mike is a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, break it down, right? I mean, you can sugarcoat it in whatever you want, whatever way you want to coat it, right? Mm-hmm. Mike is a nurse, and we have a lot of nurses here, right? So that should motivate people to say it's possible.
So people like Yaki going to be cloud architects. Yaki, you want something to say? You asked a good question. And Yolande, today I know now why you are such a detailed person. That was so
very
interesting.
Soon I'll be guru. How do you call it, guru?
But honestly, like Yaki, I really do want to motivate my kids as well. And I believe that there are lots of parents in here also who have an eye on that. So courage to us who want to motivate our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think as you said, your conversation with just a moment. Okay, Theo, you are coming in. While before you come in, I just wanted to, Yolande, just share your experience now with Brandon. Now, you people, you are installing something and Brandon is helping you, or you people discuss that cloud, something you couldn't do, say, 6 months ago. So share that experience for the parents that are here, maybe.
Really, not too much because he's not into cloud, but I have a 20-year-old son who is into computing and he's in third year. I think he's in his third year. And so I actually embarked on this journey to kind of motivate him to do certifications. But what is amazing is that each time he sees me studying, he comes to look and see exactly what I'm doing, and maybe to ask me some questions if I really understand what I'm doing, because he told me that he really struggled a lot when he started computing in first year. And he had to do a lot of YouTube videos to understand certain concepts. So when I started and passed the cloud practitioner, he was so shocked, so shocked. And it caught his attention. So each time I'm studying, he has to come around, Mama, what are you doing? He looks on my screen. He tries to ask me, what language are you using and stuff. So virtually, I'm doing a great job because he's really motivated. And he told me that as soon as he rounds up, he's going to start this. So.
Oh, Yolande, that was, okay, continue, Yolande.
Yeah, so I think it's on a positive note because he is now really thinking of doing certifications, but for now, his hands are full.
Yeah.
I think as parents, we can also motivate them as well. So,
So he
yeah.
challenged you to do better.
Yeah.
What I always say is children don't learn from what you tell them. They learn from what they see.
Yeah.
Yep. Who is that? Is that Julianne?
It's me. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So it's interesting what you said, Julianne, and that's my approach. I don't actually tell my kids anything.
Yeah.
I let them see what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Because I actually notice a lot of times when you tell them, they kind of push back, but I let them see what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's so funny with kids because like my daughter when I'm really on, okay, as we are working from home, so sometimes they come back from school and I'm still on my computer, and then they play, they do things, then by the time they are going to sleep, sometimes I'm still on my computer, and she's like, Mama, you are really working so hard, are you not tired? And then she comes the next day and like, Mama, you finished so early today. Is it, is work over now? So each time she's like, and then when I say I'm so tired, then she's like, you really worked hard today, Mama. You are really working very hard. So like we are having these conversations, and and so when she's doing something and I'm like, you really have to work hard like Mama. You have to work hard. So she has it at the back of her head. Sometimes it's like, I really have to work hard like Mama, So again, Julian, the kids, they see what we do,
Exactly.
and I'm hoping that she will be hardworking. I'm not pushing her, but I'm just hoping that one day she will be able to work hard, and by seeing Mama work hard, So
it's quite amazing. Like the 5:30 classes we do,